Mr. Showtime and the Journalist by Gregg Martinez. Intro. As a sports writer and beat columnist, I've always had an opportunity to meet interesting people. When the Journal gave me the assignment of going to Las Cruces, New Mexico to interview top-flight amateur boxer Darius Mr. Showtime Parker, I knew I had a tough assignment. Parker's reputation was, it was that of a tough interview. He often had a shell of an individualist prima donna. He was a young up-and-comer from Chicago with that athletic talent that could not be matched or explained. His speed and strength combined brought much praise from sports writers such as myself. His persona, though, was not with a good reputation at the time. I was assigned to go and meet him. I was assigned to interview him. I packed a light duffel bag and a computer, my laptop. I made sure to have a tape recorder for a few pens to take notes. As a journalist, I wanted very much to get into his mind. I wanted to make him trust me so I could get a full story, not only about his young career, but about his upbringing. I knew it would be an assignment that would take me far in the world of writers if I could produce an exclusive interview. After a few calls to agents and trainers, I was able to get a verbal commitment to have an exclusive. No issue is mentioned that we could not discuss. My mind was filled with ideas of questions. I wanted to ask him so much. Being a Hispanic from the Southwest, though, I was not entirely comfortable with interviewing a black superstar. I had heard and read that he had, until this point in his career, only given exclusive interviews to black reporters. Rumors had it that he was a bit uncomfortable with white reporters. As a Hispanic, I could understand that. I may not have agreed morally to the notion, but I understood. Having not yet met Parker, I was certainly tried to fill out his stance on race as I asked him questions. The subject was interesting to me because in the Southwest, Hispanics made the rules. Black and white was the same thing in my eyes. Brown was something completely different. And though it was the same in my mind, I had certainly seen how racism can affect athletes. Especially certain Hispanic athletes had their hang-up about race, and that in my own process would be vital to getting the raw and real Darius Parker to answer my questions. The drive from Albuquerque to Las Cruces was a familiar one. The scenic desert was gorgeous and hot. There was nothing like the spaces between cities to calm nerves or clear your head. I listened to the radio when it was available between mass stretches of nothing. When it came to a static fuzz, I used my little voice recorder to ask questions I planned to ask him. Parker had just come back to the United States by way of a tournament win in Juarez, Mexico. I imagined he would be a bit abrupt and culture shocked. His Chicago upbringing was an aspect of his life that I had planned to dig into. And as a Hispanic, I was interested in the value differences between blacks and Hispanics from different regions. As a student in college, I had written an article about his basketball days at Grambling. He was the type of athlete who was lucky and gifted in the ways he could move quickly and think on his feet. His decision-making was unparalleled as a guard. His mentality was pass first, score second, when the game dictated the need. I remember watching him and thinking he could have been the grittiest defender I had ever seen. He also played with a chip on his shoulder. He had a fuck you mentality to him. That, as a spectator, I can admit I was a fan of. I planned on staying in a hotel in Las Cruces. I wanted to be in and out of the town as soon as possible. It seemed that every time I was in Las Cruces, it was about 105 degrees. As I drove down I-25, it was obvious that this trip would be no different.